ever catch yourself like people watching and you see a couple and you're like, what is that about? They seem like total opposites. But hey, maybe they're onto something with that whole opposites attract thing.
It's a question for the ages, isn't it?
Totally. And that's what we're diving into today, the psychology of attraction. Does this whole opposites attract idea actually hold water?
Well, it's certainly captured our imaginations. I mean, you see it everywhere. Ancient myths, literature, those cheesy but lovable romantic comedies.
Don't get me started on those rom-coms. But, okay, we're not just relying on Meg Ryan to tell us what's up. We're going deeper here. We've got actual research to unpack. But before we get all sciencey, let's break it down. When we say opposites attract, what are we even talking about?
Right, because it can't just be that one of you likes pineapple on pizza and the other thinks it's a crime against humanity.
Exactly. So what is it?
It's usually about more fundamental differences, like core personality traits.
Yeah.
Think like introversion versus extroversion, or someone who color codes their calendar paired with someone who's all about spur-of-the-moment adventures.
The meticulous planner with the spontaneous free spirit. I get it.
Exactly. And the idea is that these differences, they create a spark, a balance.
Okay, that makes sense. But you mentioned research. Does the science actually support this whole opposites attract thing?
Well, there's this theory in psychology called the similarity attraction effect.
Catchy.
Right. And basically it suggests that we tend to be drawn to people who share similar values, interests, backgrounds, that kind of thing.
Hold on. So are you saying opposites attract is a tile myth?
Not so fast.
Yeah.
It's not that simple. While similarity can definitely make things easier, especially early on in a relationship, there's also this idea of complementarity. And that suggests that sometimes those differences in personality traits, they actually complement each other.
Okay, so it's more nuanced than just like attracts like or opposites attract. There's more going on. Can you give us an example of how this complementarity thing might actually play out in a real relationship?
Absolutely. Imagine a couple. One person, incredibly organized, like to a fault. The other, well, let's just say they're more laid back. Go with the flow. Now, the organized one might really appreciate the relaxed energy their partner brings. Helps them loosen up a bit. And the more easygoing partner, they might benefit from, a little bit of structure, someone to keep things from going totally off the rails.
So it's like they each bring something different, something that the other might be missing.
Exactly. Different strengths.
So you're saying these differences, these opposite traits, they can actually be a good thing.
They can be. I mean, think about it. Sometimes differences challenge us to grow, right?
Mhm.
To step outside of those comfort zones. If you're someone who always plays it safe, having a partner who encourages you to, I don't know, try that new restaurant, take an improv class, that can be really amazing.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like that saying, iron sharpens iron. You're pushing each other to be better. But I'm guessing it's not always easy, right?
You're right. Because as much as differences can be a source of strength, they can also be a source of, well, conflict.
That's what I was thinking.
If they're not handled carefully. For example, imagine a couple. One's super spontaneous, loves to just pick up and go, and the other has to plan everything weeks in advance. Just trying to figure out what to do this weekend could be interesting.
I can see that going downhill fast.
And that's just weekend plans. We're not even talking about bigger differences like life goals.
Right. That
And
feels like a whole other level.
it is.
Mm.
Because, I mean, compromising on dinner is one thing, but if you have totally different visions for the future, that's big. Like, one person dreams of living in a bustling city, and the other wants a quiet cottage in the countryside.
Yeah, that's going to take some serious work.
Exactly. It requires a whole lot of understanding, respect, and a willingness to, bend a little.
So when you hear those stories about couples who seem like total opposites but are still going strong, it's really about finding that balance, isn't it?
I think so.
Celebrating what makes them unique while still having that strong foundation.
Absolutely. Shared values, common goals,
Mm,
because you can't build a relationship on being different alone.
exactly. So we've talked about the psychology behind all of this, the potential pitfalls. But what about those real life couples who are out there making this opposites attract thing work?
Right. Because those theories are interesting and all, but
But seeing it in action is a whole other thing. Do you have any stories about couples who are making it work despite being opposites?
I do. I was reading about this couple. We'll call them Sarah and Ben. Sarah's an artist. Like free spirit, loves spontaneity, always up for trying new things. And Ben, he's an engineer, very logical, thrives on routine. On paper, you'd look at them and think, this could be a disaster.
Total opposites.
Right. but they've been happily married for years.
Mm.
And they attribute a lot of their success to being very intentional about communication.
Because that's key in any relationship, but especially when you're navigating differences.
For sure. They really make an effort to see things from the other person's perspective,
Right.
even when it's hard. And they've also gotten really good at compromise.
Like, how does that work?
Well, sometimes Sarah goes off on these adventures with her friends. Ben stays home, recharges. And then other times, they venture out together, try something new as a couple. They meet in the middle.
It's really inspiring, because it shows that it's not about trying to change each other
Exactly. It's about making space for those differences.
while still nurturing that connection.
Yes.
Wow, this has been such a fascinating deep dive. It's clear that this opposites attract idea is way more complex than it seems. It's not just about being different. It's about finding that sweet spot between embracing those differences and building a foundation of shared values, communication, compromise. The works.
And it makes you think about attraction in a whole new way.
It really does. So as we wrap up, here's something for everyone to ponder. What if we're actually drawn to people who reflect back to us those parts of ourselves that we haven't fully embraced?
Ooh, I like that.
It's like we're looking for a kind of wholeness in our relationship, something to think about as you navigate your own relationships and what makes them tick.